You're listening to It's Getting Better, a podcast about mental health, hope, and overcoming challenges. While this podcast is not intended to replace medical advice or professional help, we hope that the stories and experiences shared by young people can help you on your journey of getting better. I'm your host, Kate, and today I am so thrilled that Uzi's here on the podcast with us today. So I'm just going to have her introduce herself and tell us why she's here and a little about her story.
Okay, hi guys, my name is Uzi. I'm 20 years old. I'm from the United States, and where I was back in 2021 was one of the darkest times of my life, and now I'm at a perspective where I can help other people who've been through what I've been through, and I've struggled with bullying, internet bullying, in-person bullying, a lot of grief, a lot of trauma, a lot of abuse from when I was little. So I think I also wanted to help other people because I know it's not easy to go through what you're going through, because the first ever time I did go through what I was going through, I didn't ask for help. I just it's like a bottle where if you keep things in a bottle, it's going to explode. Like my friend likes to say, it's a soda can. And if you shake it, and you keep shaking it, you're not going to be surprised when it blows up. So when it blows up, it's worse than when you first started. So I think that's why I like helping people and do what I'm doing and being on podcasts and putting my story on websites and being on live streams and helping other people.
I love it. And I do think you are very good at taking the hard experiences that you've had and then turning it into a way that you can help people and be in fact impactful. And I think that's very impressive. So you mentioned that you got bullied and that you suffered from abuse. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you learned from that and maybe how that changed your relationships and your confidence and all of that?
I think when I was first bullied, the bullies would tell me, don't speak up because you're a sissy, or don't speak up because we don't want to get in trouble, or don't speak up because that's snitch. They call me a snitch if I snitch. And I think from the bullying, I think I've kind of learned that it was never about me from the start. It was always about the other person and their insecurities, and they were jealous of me, and that they bullied because they had something inside that was insecure of them, and they projected it onto other people. So I think when I started realizing that, people started telling me that, I think it took me some time to kind of realize the bullying was never about me, even though in my head it was about me because it was towards me. So I think once my parents actually wanted to shift schools because of how bad the bullying was, and I was like, I'm not going anywhere. You can push me and pull me, I'm not going anywhere. And I think the deans really protected me in that sense because they kept telling me, oh, we'll protect her, we'll protect her, we'll protect her. And I think having those deans really told my parents that they'd take care of me and make sure it doesn't happen again. Even though it did continue, I still had better support than I did going into it. And I think my confidence has gotten so good nowadays because I'm the days that I'm super happy, I'm one of those people who have high highs and low lows. So when I'm in a low spot, I feel it's the lowest ever, and it's every single time. And then when I'm happy, I'm super happy, exuberant, full amount of, and there's nothing in between for me. And I think the abuse that I went through when I was little with the nannies, it was something I kind of didn't know that was happening until I was older, and my parents told me this is why you look different than a lot of other people. And I would have bruises on my legs, on my arms, on my back, on my neck. I would have bruises on my head sometimes, and my parents and my grandparents started questioning what was going on at my grandparents' home, because they would drop me off there because they would work overseas, so we lived overseas for a while. But I was with my grandparents, and it was just my grandparents at the time, and my uncle and aunts would go to work, so they were never home either. So it was the nannies and my grandparents. And my grandparents were very they were up there in age, so they were always in the room, and I was with the nanny upstairs because my room was upstairs. So I would have the nannies with me upstairs, and then times I would come down to see my grandparents. They started noticing I had bruises, and I would cry for no reason, and the nannies would tell me to shut up and not say anything about it. And I think that's just kind of where it started for me. But I think knowing that I went through abuse, it kind of just in my head, I just kind of, it rotated that yeah, I've been through it, and sometimes I've never looked back on it, and now looking back on it, I just feel so bad for me as a little girl who had this smile that would fill the room, that made a room light up. and no one realizing that I was abused, I was bullied. I've been through the darkest time of my life, and I actually have a picture right now that's like, that was the little girl that no one knew that anyone was going through it. And I think hiding what I've been through was something I think I learned from the culture, because the culture was, you don't speak up, you don't talk about your problems. If you do, you sound as crazy. Because in my culture, if you speak up, you're crazy, basically. And the stigma has gotten better overseas, so I think it's gotten better, but I still don't tell a lot of people overseas. I've only told a couple of my uncle and aunts, so not a lot of people know. But yeah, I hope someday it does get better and I can be open overseas about it when I go visit, because like I have to be like, yeah, I'm doing good, like I'm dandy and fine. Like the times I'm actually not, it's like I wish I was glad that I live here in the US now. So yeah,
I think both overseas, but just in general, there's definitely a culture of not speaking up and not talking about the hard times, and putting on a facade that, you're just perfect and great. And I feel like that's especially true on social media. So how have you overcome that? Like seeing other people who seem like they're just doing great, and, are you able to be vulnerable, or do you have to put on a facade? What does that look like?
Social media is a highlight reel of their life. It's not real life. And sometimes when I am going through it and I go on social media and I see everyone happy, I'm like, I wish I was that happy. I wish I was there. And like, I have to keep reminding myself, this is a highlight reel, Uzi. This isn't real life. This is just the good parts they put on social media. This is not the real them. This is a highlight reel. And I feel like sometimes I have to remind myself. No one ever posts the bad times. I feel like that's why I also post my recovery, and like I post quotes, I post different things about mental health. You've seen it. So I feel like I'm being more open now because I realize it's a highlight reel. So I post what I want to, and people do get sick of it, unfortunately. But I'm never going to stop posting about it because it's part of my life and it's affecting me. And I think when I go to work for a while, it was put on a facade, you look happy. And I think as I started letting people in slowly, and I'm so slowly letting them in, it's taking me time to kind of like let it inside me. So I feel like I'm still working on it. And I'm only open with 6 people out of the 23 people the team I work on, so it's still taking me time to kind of trust, because I feel like I have really bad trust issues, so I don't let everyone in. So I feel like I'm very like picky of who I let in. So I think that's where it's kind of started for me. And I think social media is, I'm gonna repeat it, social media is a highlight reel of your life. People, wake up.
Oh my gosh, I totally agree. And I love that you are, being open and sharing your recovery online and with the people around you. I think that's impressive and wonderful. And I'm sure like it really does make a huge difference for the people who get to see that. You mentioned this recovery journey. Can you tell me more about that and how you're learning to take care of your mental health?
I think for my recovery journey from April back in 2021 to now, it's February 2023. It's been very different for me because I finally got a therapist that I needed, a psychologist, the correct medicine, the correct support system. Because I feel like if you're in mental health recovery, I think the biggest thing that I've learned that people have told me, and I think people don't realize is you need a good support system. If you're struggling or if you're in recovery, you need a good support system, because that could make a difference between life and death. Because if you don't have a good support system, you're going to get a lot worse and you're not going to get better, versus getting better and like realizing getting better is like with the correct support system, the correct recovery system, the correct therapy, the correct medicine, the correct psychologist. So I think where I was back in 2021, and I was the first time I remember walking into the office to get the correct medicine, the correct diagnoses. My friends kept telling me, I was like texting them like, hey, this is happening today. Like I update my friend. So I was telling them like, hey, it's happening today. They're like, the number one thing they all told me was be honest. And I was so nervous. And they kept telling me, the only thing you need to remember is being honest. Be honest on that test. Don't lie. Don't don't fake it. I think the first time I took it, I did lie, unfortunately, and I know I shouldn't have because I was still scared to get help. But then I took the second time I took it, I was completely honest. So I think that's why it was different for me. So I think going and having that support system in therapy and within my friend, within my psychologist, within my family, I think if I didn't have the correct support system, I wouldn't be where I am without them.
I'm so glad you found that support, because I feel like that is a huge deal. And it can be such a game changer to realize, like, okay, there are people on my team who want me to get better, and they're here for me. They're supporting me. It's huge to be able to like have that mindset. And you mentioned that you started therapy, you started medication. Can you tell me more about like how those things were important to your recovery and your journey?
I think going into therapy, the first session, it's not always easy because they always say the first therapist isn't always the one for you. You have to go through so many therapists to find the correct one. And I think I was lucky enough, first worked for me, and I still have it to this day. I've had it for 2 years now, and it's worked miracles. But sometimes I'm just like, do I really want to recover? I don't know if that's just me or if it's like, I don't know if I want to recover. I like where I am. And it's like, that's not you. That's your mental illness brain telling you not to get better. And I think I started realizing that, and I think I was honest. One of the few times I actually cried, the first time I cried in therapy, my therapist stood up. It was on Zoom, but she stood up and she clapped, and she's like, I'm so proud of you for like crying in front of me. That's like a huge thing. And it like made my heart glow, because like I don't cry in front of a lot of people. If I cry, it's by myself on that bed by myself. So it's like, if I'm like able to do that in front of my friends and my therapist, it's just like, it makes things better and it makes me feel less alone. So it's like, I don't think of it as crazy. So I'm lucky enough to have that. And then the medicine just like, it helps me manage my mental illness, and it helps manage like my ADHD and my anxiety and stuff like that. Because like if I'm not on medication for my ADHD, I'm very crazy. Not crazy, but like I'm very like energetic, and I don't like being energetic a lot because it drains my energy and my battery like super fast, because I can use that energy for days and then I crash and it's like, I'm done, I'm tired, I don't do it. And then with the energy, like with the ADHD medication, there's also very downsides. I'm gonna be honest, there are a lot of downsides, unfortunately, to medication. One of the many medications for ADHD, one of the side effects is you can't eat. It's a suppression. It's a food suppression that's in the ADHD medication. So for me, that sucked because I was also in eating recovery. So having the food suppression meds, I was like, after I found out and after I started feeling it and I started questioning it and I looked it up and I was like, oh my God, like this has food suppression. That's why I'm not hungry. That's why I don't want to eat. And that's why I'm not like hungry all the time anymore, and I'm not eating a lot. I started eating, maybe I was eating 3 meals before recovery, and then during recovery I started only eating twice or once a day max. And my therapist put me on a meal plan where I have 2 snacks a day with a lunch and a dinner. That way I can start tolerating food again, because it's food suppression and me starving myself because of body image and what people said. I think for me, that was like slowly getting back into like the correct eating habits, the correct energy for my body, because people tell you feel your body the right way or don't feel it the wrong way. So I feel like I fueled it the wrong way for so many years, and I feel like I finally am starting learning, because I'm still on that meal plan, because I do struggle sometimes with eating, because days I go to work like today, I don't usually eat till after work because I'm stressed, because I love that team and I don't want them to lose. But like seeing them struggle and stuff like that makes it really hard. So I think before work it's like till like 4, and then it's like after work at like around 10 o'clock when I get off, I eat once, and then I end up feeling nauseous. And why? Because I ate late at night, and I should be eating through the day, not just at night. And I think my parents started realizing it. And the thing is, they force me to eat now, which is, I'm grateful for that. But it's also like, I don't want to eat. I'll be like, yeah, I'm full. Making excuses. I'm like, yeah, I'm full. I'm not hungry. I'm nauseous. I don't want to eat. eat. So, like, you're eating or you're not getting up to dinner table and we're turning your Wi-Fi off. And I feel like that really got me to eat, but it's also, like, I have to be honest with my therapist. So it's like, yeah. And she's like, yeah, we're going to keep you on this meal plan until you can, like, meet it consistently. Because for a while, I was meeting it consistently for 6-7 months. And then I stopped. And I had no clue why. But I'm doing better now. And it's, yeah.
I love what you're talking about, that like even in this recovery journey, you got a therapist and you started on this meal plan, all of that, there have still been ups and downs and there are still things you are struggling with and figuring out. And I love that you talk about that, because I think sometimes, at least for me, I get it in my head that's like, I have to like just like fix it all and be better, just like that. Like it has to just happen. So I love you talking about like, hey, it's a process and there's a lot to figure out. And so it's just, it's a bumpy road, but hopefully you're, going upwards and getting to a better point over time. When we talked before recording, you mentioned that a lot of what you talk about with mental health is trying to help your friends and the people around you. And I know that that's very important to you. So will you talk to me more about like how you can support someone who's struggling, a friend or a family member or a colleague? What can you do when you see someone struggling?
I think when you read about like depression, or like if you know the signs of depression, signs of anxiety, signs of PTSD, signs of eating disorders, signs of bipolar or whatever, I think being open with the people around you, not everyone, but like the correct people or like the closest friends or your family or your therapist, psychologist, whatever not. I think it's very like, you should be very honest about it, because they just want to help you. They don't want to see you get worse or like, God forbid, like pass away or die because you decided to do something stupid. But I think getting the right support is something that I truly needed and I truly got. And I think I'm still learning to be able to pick up the phone and text a friend, be like, hey, like, I need to talk to you. I'm not doing so well. Can we talk? And I think being like that is just like being open. Because I'm not open with my parents. I'm not close to my parents, obviously. But picking up the phone, texting my therapist, texting my psychologist, texting one of my friends, because I do still struggle with hesitating to text, because I'm like, I don't want to wake them up, because when I'm usually going through stuff, it's late at night, and it's like, 12:01, and I'm like, I hesitate, and I'm still learning not to hesitate, because I know they want to be there for me, but it's also like, I'm like, what if they're sleeping, or like, what if they're drinking, what if they're doing all that, and I'm like, I hesitate, and I feel like people shouldn't hesitate, because it's like, they're just trying to be there for you, honestly, as a friend, as a colleague, as a family member, as a supporting system. People need to be there for you. Like, honestly, if I wasn't there for them, they weren't there for me, I probably wouldn't be who I am. So having the correct support system and reaching out, saying, hey, picking up the phone, calling, texting, like, hey, I'm not doing so hot, I need to talk, or like, hey, I need this, or can I vent? So I'll text my friend and be like, can I vent? Can I talk? And it's, when I'm able to, it like takes like this weight that's on my shoulders and it comes off my shoulders, and it feels so good. And I feel like being able to be open is something that everyone should learn from like the get-go. And I feel like it should be taught in schools, and it's not. Unless you take a psych class in high school or a psych class in college, you're not going to learn about it in the real world, unfortunately.
Yeah, I love that. I want to hear more about if you are on the receiving end of that. Like, what if you get that text? What next? What do you do? How do you support, a friend who texts you at midnight and says, hey, I'm not doing so hot?
I've actually been on the end multiple times on TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat. People be like, I want to do this, or I want to do that, or I'm not doing so hot. And I'll try to be there for them, give them the proper advice, be there for them, just listen or talk or give them advice. I'm there. But if it's more than what I can give, I refer them to a therapist, psychologist, be like, hey, this is how much I could help you. Here are the next steps to getting help. How else can I support you?
That's so good. And I think the process of referral is hugely important, because, as a friend, we can listen and we can love and put our arms around them, but we're not experts, and trying to be is probably does more harm than good. So being brave enough to say like, okay, you should probably get a therapist, or, hey, let me help you call this helpline or something like that is,
yeah. Cause I remember, my friend's telling me, you can't, because I'll be like, I want to save everyone. I'm like, I want to be Superwoman. I want to be there for every single person that texts me, calls me. I want to be there for everyone. But my friends remind me, you can't be a Superwoman to everyone. You can't save everyone. And that, like, breaks my heart because I just want to be there for everyone. But, like, at the same time, I cannot, and I'm not a Superwoman, and I can't.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you've got an amazing mindset on that of like, okay, at some point, they need more help than I can give. I do feel like, you're talking about just dozens of people that have reached out to you, and obviously you've been through a ton of hardship. I feel like mental health in our generation, in like young people today, is a much bigger problem than it's ever been before. Or maybe we're just talking about it more. I don't know. But it feels like it's a really big deal. What are your thoughts on why that might be?
I think nowadays it's like getting into college. One of the many of people in college, they drink, and that's a problem because they drink away their problems. And I feel like I don't drink, but like I know certain people that drink their problems away and they don't talk about it because they think they're men and they're not supposed to cry, not supposed to talk about it. And I have to remind them, like, it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to go through it. I'm here for you. I've had to text so many guys and be like, I'm here for you. Like, talk to me. Please do not drink. Please text me. I'm here for you. Please let me in. With one of my friends recently, I had to be on him, like, hey, let me in. We have been each other's best friends for a couple months now. Let me in. Let me help you. Because I feel bad if I don't help. And I feel like some of the guys that are on the team that I work for, they still drink their problems away because I see on Instagram. And it breaks my heart because I tell them, I'm like, I'm here for you. I'm here for you. I'm here for you. I can only say that so many times. I can only give myself so much energy to the point I'm like, I'm here for you. Like, it's like sometimes it's draining being a part of that team because I'm trying my best and I'm giving 1,000% into that job like most of the time, unless it's like it's too much for me. But like I give my 100% and I give those boys everything and I give them what they need to hear and I'm there for them. And it's like sometimes I'm like, I need a break, or like I wish they were there in my shoes, or I wish they would text me and be like, hey, like, we need this, so like, we're here for you. And I feel like sometimes I do get that, sometimes I don't. And it's a learning process for me to be like, what is my good energy put into and what is bad energy? And I love this team. That's why I do not give up on them. But sometimes I'm just like, I'm tired. I don't want to fight it. I don't want to do it. But I told my family, like, I'm like, I don't know how much I can take. I'll text the coaches. I'm like, I don't know how much more I can do for this team because my battery is draining and it's just kind of on that level. It's like, I feel like yesterday, I was actually telling myself, tomorrow's be one of those days I'm going to drag myself out of bed and get myself there because I love that team. Even though I'm exhausted and I've had a lot going on, I'm still going to be there for them, even though I'm exhausted. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm dragging myself out of that bed and I'm going to work today, even though I kind of want to, but I kind of don't.
I think you bring up a good point that, being someone else's support system and caring for someone else's mental health, you have to set boundaries for yourself too. And you have to take care of yourself because, like you said, that can be draining and exhausting, and it can deplete your own mental wellness. So there's a hard balance there, and it's hard to figure out. Like, you want to be all in on helping someone else, but you also have to take care of yourself at the same time, and that's just as important.
You can only preach so much. You can only preach so much to a choir until they actually want to, like, talk about what they're going through. Only one of the guys has been super honest with me. The rest, nothing. And I keep telling them, I'm here for you. I'm here for you. I'm here for you. I'm here for you. And they're like, yeah, thank you. But they never open up. And I'm just like, hey, you good? Like, I check in with... before and after the game, I check in with those boys. Even on random days, I check in with them. And they either leave me on open and be like, yeah, thank you. Like, we're good. And I'm just like, no, you're not. Like, I can tell when they're off. Like, even after games when they lose, I text them. I'm like, hey, good game. There's always tomorrow. There's always another game. I'm here for you if you need to talk. And it's like, and they're in a bad mood and coaches keep telling me, yeah, just ignore it. They're in a bad mood. And I'm trying to be there for them. I'm there for them. And if you go through my DMs, at least 7 of those guys are in my DMs. I text, I'm here for you. I'm here for you. I'm here for you. If you need to talk, I know you're in a bad mood, but I'm here for you. I'm here for you. I'm here for you. And like, sometimes I'm like, can I just stop doing this? I love them, but it's like, when do you tell yourself to stop? I sometimes just like, I give up. I don't want to text them. I don't want to like talk to them. Like, I've said what I've said and it's getting exhausting. And it's like, just like some days I'm like, after work, I'm just like, oh, I don't want to talk about hockey. Like, my parents are like, how is work? I'm like, I don't want to talk about work. The past like couple of weeks I've just been like, I don't want to talk about work. Can we not talk about work? That's how tiring sometimes I get. To like last week too, I was like, I don't want to talk about it. I'm going to my room, I'm going to dinner, and I'm going to bed. I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, that's a big responsibility that you're taking on. Like, feeling that much like ownership over someone else's mental health, like that's got to really take a toll on you. That's crazy. Okay, my last question for you today is what advice do you have for any other teens that are working on getting better, that are struggling? Maybe what advice would you give to your younger self or some of these other people that you're taking care of?
I think that it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to reach out for help. It's okay to talk about it. And make sure your schedule is like a dinner plate where it's like you schedule yourself the way you want to be scheduled. And you can take things off your plate or your schedule. So like asking for help or going to therapy, put that on your plate. Or like journaling, put that on your plate. Or if it's like talking to a friend, put that on your plate. So it's like asking for help, that it's okay, and reaching out. Don't hesitate, because people just want to help you and be there. So I think that's the biggest thing for me. Yeah, I like check in with tons of people all the time. I check in on them. I actually had to check on a couple of my friends and then the team. It was like, you should see my DMs. Like, my DMs are just like, my God. Like, you know my long list of things I'm doing, and it's like, people are like, you're going to get burnt out again. I'm like, I'm not going to get burnt out.